I'm Ethan, 32, and for much of my adult life, I've been the reliable son. Not the favored one. That was always my younger sister, Claire, but the one who stepped up, paid overdue bills without prompting, and covered the mortgage when Dad lost his job. And Mom's brief illness stretched into 2 years of me handling everything from groceries to utilities. I never grumbled. I didn't demand praise. I just did it, because I believed that's what family meant. Loyalty, sacrifice, showing up even when no one acknowledges you. I didn't see how one-sided it was until a few months ago. It was a Thursday, unremarkable, like most days when something life-altering sneaks up on you. I'd just gotten home from work, still in my button-up heating leftovers, when my phone pinged, a text from my cousin, Sarah. "Hey, sorry about the will, that's rough." I froze, confused. "What will?" Seconds later, she sent a blurry photo of documents. My dad's scrawl, my mom's signature. I scrolled through it, my hands growing cold. It was real. My parents had finalized their will weeks earlier, without a word to me. And every asset, the house I'd helped save from foreclosure, the small lake cabin my grandfather built, was left to Claire. My name? Not a trace. Not even a symbolic nod, like Ethan gets the desk he made as a kid. Nothing. Like I didn't exist. At first, I convinced myself it was a mistake. Maybe they hadn't updated it. Maybe they thought Claire would split things with me. I called. No answer. I texted Mom. "Hey, can we talk?" Read. No response. That night, I paced my apartment. That photo seared into my mind. I thought of all the times I skipped outings with friends or passed on buying something for myself to keep their lights on. The cash I slipped into their mailbox when their pride wouldn't let them ask outright. And now, I wasn't even worth a mention. 3 days later, Mom finally called while I was at work. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was brief, almost flippant. "Hey, Ethan, been swamped. We meant to tell you about the will, but it just seemed easier to keep it simple. Claire's got a family and she's, settled. You're doing okay, right? Call me." Her tone stung worse than the words. Casual, like it was a logical choice, like I wasn't owed an explanation. That night, I sat with a notebook. I listed every bill I'd covered: electricity, water, internet, garbage collection, the streaming accounts they used but never paid for. I tallied what I'd spent in the last year alone, over $8,000, not counting random groceries or gas money. I realized I wasn't just the dutiful son. I was their unpaid lifeline. The fallback they never thanked but always expected. I didn't lash out. I didn't send a furious text. I just stopped, quietly, deliberately. I removed my card from their utility payments. I canceled the streaming services. I let the overdue notices speak for me. At first, nothing. A week passed. Then 2. Then, one Monday, a text from Mom. "Power's about to be cut off. Did you forget to pay again?" Again. Like it was my duty. Like I'd failed at a job I was never appreciated for. I stared at it, tempted to fire back something cutting. Instead, I replied with one word. "No." Then I blocked her number. The calls didn't stop. She used Dad's phone, then Claire's. Old friends I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly reached out. I ignored them. My inbox filled with vague, guilt-tripping emails. "You know they're struggling, Ethan. This isn't like you. Family doesn't abandon family." One even said, "Don't be so dramatic." But none of them had seen that will. None had heard Mom's "you're doing okay," like my stability erased my worth as their son and turned me into a tool. Useful. Disposable. 2 weeks after I blocked her, Claire left a voicemail. We hadn't talked much since college. She was always the favorite, the shining star, but we'd never connected. Her voice started cheerful, then shifted, strained. "Hey, Ethan, heard there's been a mix-up. Mom and Dad are in a bind. I figured you could help out, be a dear. I'm swamped with the kids. They really need the water back on. I told them you'd come through." That line, "I told them you'd come through," stuck with me. Not a request, an expectation. That's when I saw it clearly. It wasn't just that they favored her. They genuinely believed I existed to prop them up. No matter what they did, I'd be there, cleaning up their messes, paying their bills, because that's who I'd always been. Not a son, not an equal, but a resource. So I decided to change that. Not with arguments or explanations, with action. It started with a quiet trip to the county records office. It was a rainy Tuesday, the kind of day where everything feels heavy: sky, air, thoughts. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I slipped out during lunch, jacket zipped, hands in pockets. The records office was hushed, with a few retirees sifting through files and a couple murmuring about marriage licenses. I asked for the clerk handling property records. The woman at the desk barely glanced up. Purpose? Checking a house deed? My parents. I kept my tone even. She handed me a form. I filled it out, listing the house I'd saved 3 times, the one I'd mowed, painted, and maintained when they couldn't. 10 minutes later, she gave me the file. The mortgage had been refinanced twice in 6 years. The balance wasn't huge, but wasn't small either. And there it was. My name wasn't on the deed, not as a beneficiary, nothing. Just my parents, with a clause passing it to Claire upon their deaths. I stared at that line, then slid the file back. I didn't need a copy. I just needed to know. On the way back to work, I stopped at the bank. Something urged me to tie up loose ends. Claire and I had a joint account from a failed business venture years ago. She'd begged me to keep it open for a potential retry. I'd left a few $100s in it, forgotten. But the transaction history made me laugh bitterly. For 6 months, she'd been siphoning small amounts. $20, $50, like I wouldn't notice. I closed the account, flagged the activity, not to punish her, but to say, I'm not your backup plan. Then came the bigger step. I called a lawyer, not a flashy one, but a steady middle-aged woman named Laura, recommended by a coworker. Over lukewarm coffee in her office, I laid it all out. The will, the bills, the years of support with no record. I'm not suing them, I said. I just want to protect myself, legally, financially, emotionally. She nodded. We can set boundaries and document everything. You've been their financial crutch for years. If they try to pull you back in, you'll need clear records. It was like she saw through me. She helped me draft a letter, formal but not bitter, stating I was no longer responsible for my parents' bills or debts. No accusations, just facts, notarized and mailed with a signature required. 3 days later, the calls started again. Claire, Mom, Dad, their voicemails growing desperate. Ethan, why are you doing this? We didn't mean anything by it, just talk to us. Then Claire's. Mom says they might have to sell the house. They can't afford this, Ethan. I can't take them in with my kids. You've always been the one to help. You held this family together. Please, just get them through the winter. That line, you held this family together, hit differently. Not valued, not cherished, used. That's when the shift came. Not anger, but resolve. A quiet voice in my head. You don't have to burn yourself out to keep others warm. My silence wasn't spite. It was closure. But it didn't end there. A week later, a letter arrived, handwritten, no return address, in Dad's shaky script. It changed everything. The envelope was thin, almost too light for its weight. I nearly tossed it, thinking it was another guilt trip. But the uneven handwriting, my name scrawled like the pen was gripped too hard, stopped me. I opened it. A single sheet torn from a cheap notebook, ink smudged in places. It read, Ethan, I don't expect forgiveness. I'm not sure we deserve it. Your mom decided the will. She said it was cleaner to give everything to Claire. She thought you wouldn't mind since you've got your own life. I didn't stop her. That's on me. I saw your lawyer's letter. I see now what you've done for us. You paid for things without asking for thanks. You showed up. I let that go unnoticed too long. This letter won't fix things, but you need to know. Your grandfather left you something. Your mom never told you. I paused, rereading that line. The letter continued. He left you the cabin by the lake. He signed the transfer before he died, but your mom said it was better to keep it in the family name until you were ready. When we wrote the new will, she told the lawyer to put everything under Claire. I didn't argue. My mistake. But the cabin wasn't hers to give away. I kept the transfer papers hidden in the attic in a metal box behind the insulation. Do what you want with them. I don't expect a reply. I'm sorry. Dad. I sat in my car, the letter on the steering wheel, engine off, the world quiet. No anger, no racing pulse, just clarity. The pieces fit. Mom's secrecy about the cabin, Claire's casual mention of remodeling it at Christmas, like it was already hers, the attic, the box, the insulation. I drove to their house. It looked the same. Faded lawn chair, blinds drawn, a hallway light peeking through. No one was home. I used my spare key. The air smelled of stale coffee and dust, a scent tied to every childhood memory. I climbed to the attic, the door creaking like it hadn't moved in years. The ladder dropped, and warm, musty air hit me. The attic was a mess. Boxes, old decorations, forgotten clutter. Behind the insulation, near the chimney, I found it. A dented metal box. Unlocked. Inside were yellowed papers, photos of Grandpa in his youth, and the deed transfer. My name, his signature. Dated 3 weeks before his stroke. The cabin was mine all along. Mom had hidden it. I felt no rage, no victory, just a quiet grief. For the years I thought I had no place in the family legacy. For believing their narrative that I should be grateful for my own life. For the guilt I carried when I stepped back. I took the papers, locked the attic, and left the house untouched. No note. That evening, I drove to the lake. I hadn't been in a decade. The cabin was smaller, the porch sagging, but it stood, Quiet. Mine. I stood by the water as the sun set, papers under my arm, feeling something I hadn't in years. Peace. But 2 days later, Claire arrived at my apartment, furious. It was Saturday, just before noon. I was set to head back to the cabin, make a repair list. Her sharp knocks, demanding, impatient, cut through my morning. I knew it was her. I considered ignoring it, but this felt inevitable. I opened the door, face blank. She stormed in. I stepped aside. She was already ranting. "You went through Mom and Dad's stuff? You took the box? What, you're sneaking around now?" Windbreaker, sunglasses despite the clouds, jaw tight. I didn't answer, just opened the door wider. She walked in like she owned the place. They found the attic a mess. They were freaked out. "And you stole the box?" "Really?" "Sit down," I said, my voice calm, cold, not angry. "Just done." She blinked, caught off guard. "Excuse me?" "Sit," I repeated. To my surprise, she complied, perhaps because I wasn't feeding her usual need for a reaction. Claire thrived on drama, but I wasn't giving her any. I grabbed the folder from the kitchen counter and slid it across the table. "Look." She opened it, expecting some trick. Her eyes scanned the deed transfer, then again and again. The silence grew heavy. "This isn't... It was supposed to be part of the estate." "It wasn't," I said, "but Mom said..." "Yeah, Mom says a lot." Her head snapped up. I leaned forward, hands clasped. "Grandpa left me the cabin. He signed it over before he died. Mom hid it. You helped her rewrite the will, didn't you?" "Simplified it." Her jaw twitched. No answer. "You thought I'd never know. Like with the bank account, the small transfers. You thought I wouldn't care. You didn't care about the cabin." She snapped. "You never went there. You moved out, got your big job, left us behind. I built a life," I countered. She scoffed. "You act like a saint. We all struggled. You think it's easy raising kids on a teacher's salary? You think it's easy being the one Mom and Dad rely on emotionally?" I stared at her. "Emotionally? Claire, I paid their mortgage, utilities, gave up vacations, friends, time to keep that house afloat. And what did I get?" She didn't answer. I pulled out the lawyer's letter and set it beside the deed. "You're not getting the cabin. Not a cent of what I paid for. Mom and Dad are adults. If they need help, they can ask like adults. But the part of my life where I'm everyone's fallback? Done." "They're scared," she said, her voice cracking. "They might lose the house." "Ironic," I replied. "Ethan, come on. I know we weren't close growing up, but we're still family." "Were we?" She flinched, visibly shaken. "I was good enough when you needed money, when Mom needed a credit card paid, when Dad needed a hospital ride. But when it came to a will, I didn't exist. You're blowing this out of proportion." "No," I said firmly. "You underestimated how much I did and how little you valued it." She stood, clutching the folder. "So you're just cutting everyone off?" "I already have. You're just catching up." The room felt heavy. She lingered, waiting for me to soften, to offer a way out. I didn't. She left without a word, and the door's click was the sweetest sound I'd heard in weeks. A month later, a mutual friend mentioned that Mom and Dad were denied another refinance. Missed payments and a closed account had flagged their credit. They were considering selling the house, downsizing to something smaller. They didn't reach out to me. I didn't offer help. Claire sent one text. "You really did it." I didn't reply. That weekend, I went to the cabin with tools, sandpaper, paint, supplies from the hardware store. Fixing it was slow, quiet, restorative. Every nail I drove, every hinge I tightened, felt like reclaiming something stolen. Not just the cabin, but my sense of self. I hung Grandpa's old fishing pole above the fireplace and framed a photo of us from when I was 8, holding tiny sunfish like trophies. By autumn, the lake's leaves glowed gold, the air thick with pine and wood smoke. I realized I didn't miss them, not as I'd expected. I hadn't been mourning my family, but the idea of what family should be. Loyal, supportive, loving. Now, I was building something new, not from guilt or duty, but choice. And that was worth more than any inheritance they could have offered.